Back in 2003, I went to Southside High School. I was 18 years old, and I was a junior. And at the time period, I wasn't a believer. One day I was in the hall, and this young lady comes around, Rachel, and she was a very, very beautiful woman. And I began to tell myself, hey, you know, you'll talk to her. And normally I wasn't like that. I did not do that for at least 6 months of that school year. And I went up to her, talked to her, and I knew up front that, you know, she was different from most girls.
I was with my friend, we were walking to class, and he introduced himself, asked me what my name was, and asked me for my number, and I didn't give it to him.
And she didn't give me her number up front, and it was kind of shocking for me, but she didn't. She was kind of shy and she was kind of direct, so.
I was rebellious and I didn't care if he was a Christian or not.
But I had said to Rachel, you know, if any man is going to come into your life, he needs to be a believer, and he needs to have that as an important part of his walk, because you're a believer. And that needs to be a part of his journey too.
I started to call her more. I started to write her letters, but every now and then I would slip things in letters that was not Christ-like. You know, things that I want to make advances at her, and she wasn't having it, but what ended up happening was her father found the letter.
Once my dad found the letter, he was like, I want to meet Octavius. Well, actually, I think it was more like, he didn't want me talking to Octavius anymore.
I talked to her dad on the phone, and he told me that he didn't want this filth around their family. And I came at a crossroads where I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not good enough for the family. I mean, they're a Christ-centered family. I don't know nothing about Christ. My parents don't. I don't have nothing. I don't have a leg to stand on.
And then my dad kind of figured out, well, she's not gonna let him go, so I might as well bring him to the house and get to know him. That's how it was.
One thing, he came around to our house, and he had a different background than we were used to, but and we were kind of in the face of our kids, in their business quite a bit, and he wasn't used to that.
We wanted whatever young fellow or gal came to our home, we wanted to make sure that they saw Jesus.
So I was freaking out when my dad wanted him to come home because I wasn't ready for it, and I hadn't known him that long.
He was used to being independent from his own family, being out on his own, and so he had to kind of buckle down, and he said, ooh, that was hard to do, but he because of Rachel, he was willing to, you know, let us be in his face and ask him questions. And
so we kind of embraced that aspect, yet held at the other side, yes, we got to protect this daughter of ours because this probably will be a short-term relationship. And it didn't. It didn't become that at all.
Right up front, he was telling me about Christ. He was giving me analogies I never heard before. He was speaking into my life. That was his first goal, is to let me know who Christ was.
He was just hungering to understand this personal relationship with Jesus. He just had lots of questions, and it was very, very obvious that there was a spiritual search going on in this young guy's heart.
And we feel like my dad's impact on Octavius' life, even when he was 18, is just huge, because he taught him so much, you know, about life, about what's right and wrong. And so that was really important to me, to have my dad also help Octavius.
And one thing you have to understand about Steve Harrigan, he had a young man at age 18 years old that was unequally yoked, technically, to even be with his daughter. That took me into his home and taught me about Christ. Not many men can do that. And I really value that. I really respect him for that, because without that, I don't even know if I ever would have had the opportunity to not A, have a great wife, but B, be a Christ follower.
Kind of the light came on after he started coming to fellowship, hanging around, talking, interacting with us and the Word, and obviously he was going to Mark Linville's Sunday school class and getting exposed to teaching and the gospel there.
He was part of a Wednesday night small group that I was facilitating here at the church, and he was like a sponge. I mean, he wanted to know. He had questions and questions and questions continually.
Then you had Mark Linville that understood that I was a new Christian, And when I accepted Christ, he continued to speak into my life. And when I didn't know Christ, he spoke into my life. And he tried to harness all the doubts and all the pressures I was dealing with at the time and all the things that I didn't know about Christ. He helped me mold that into an actual belief. Whereas first I was skeptical and had a lot of questions, he set me down individually. He let me interrupt the class when everybody else was kind of knew a lot more than me.
My life's got a whole bunch of junk in the back that I went through as a high school kid and as a college kid, and then, you know, even as a married man, you know, 20 years ago, had some really rough spots with my marriage. And if there's things that I can share with them that have been part of my life that can help one of them not go through that, then maybe that's what God can use it for.
I met Jim at a Bible study back in, I would say, 2005. Jim came into my life after I was a Christian, but he helped me understand that, contrary to what the inner city Fort Wayne tells you, you can be a business owner. You can break the mold. You can turn your trade, which was what I am as an electrician, and turn that into a business and not have to worry about ever being laid off ever again.
We meet, I would say, most every week on two different levels. Spiritually, talk about the Lord, and also we talk about struggles and how we can break through those. And then we also talk about business. We have victories and struggles, so we talk about how we can accomplish them. We celebrate the ones that we've been able to accomplish. And
Jim is the best friend I ever had in my life. And if it wasn't for him to have the notion to speak into my life and to really latch on to who I was as a man, God just had a gravitational pull, and since then we've been shaping and molding each other. It's very important for you to be in a community setting because that's where Jesus constructed it. Jesus wasn't a loner. I thought it was very important for me to finally listen to what God wanted me to do. God wanted me to be in part of the youth group, and I figured I would, and I kind of threw myself into there, and I wanted to be a part of the intentional discipleship portion. I wanted to sit one-on-one with the students and be able to speak into their lives, because I didn't have that for my whole life until I came to fellowship. I didn't have anybody willing to speak into my life.
We began to see how God had a web going on here. We knew there were really great people that year with Mark and who he had put into his life there. We saw where God was putting people into his life at work. We saw that he was at our home and we were trying to invest into him. And we just felt like God was doing great things in Octavius's life.
Jesus continues to blow me away every day.